Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody has a good time here in Palm Springs. My name is Yiwei Ma. I'm a software developer in the Web AppBuilder team. And I'm here with Esri for almost 8 years now. And on my side, this is Gavin.
And yeah, I'm Gavin Raykamper. I'm a developer with Esri Professional Services. And I've been here 7 or 8 years at Esri.
All right, so today we are really going to talk about how to develop for a better mobile experience for the apps created in Web AppBuilder. So here's some outline of today's section. So first, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of some of the mobile design principles. And then I'm going to dive into the layout and the style in a theme and do some demos on how to customize those to make a better mobile experience. And next, Gavin will briefly walk you through how to develop for mobile in widgets. And after all that, if we have some time left, I'm going to briefly walk you through some of the new features that are coming with the next generation of the Web AppBuilder, which is called the Experience Builder. Okay. All right, so before we get started on the technical part, I would like to quickly go over a few basic mobile design principles. The reason why I'm doing this is to help you to be familiar with some of the fundamental mobile design principles that will be very helpful in your mobile design process, and also to understand some of the reasons behind the changes I'm going to make in my demos. Okay. So the first one is something we might be very familiar with, which is the less is more concept. Yeah, because the real estate on a mobile device is much smaller than a desktop. It is suggested that we focus on delivering the content first to the users and try to prioritize the content in your app to make sure the most important information is delivered to your users with ease. So what you can do is, for example, you can remove some of the unnecessary UI elements from your mobile user interface, such as the large decoration images or icons, and make your UI elements simpler by adopting a minimal UI design framework. The second one is the finger-friendly target sizes. So what this means is to make any of the clickable or tappable targets, such as buttons, links, or menus, big enough for a person's finger to tap. Here, my suggestion is to make the target size larger than 40 pixels for any primary targets. The size is based on an adult's index finger, which range from 16 to 20 millimeters. That translates to 45 to 57 pixels. Apple's design guidelines suggests this number to be 44 pixels, and Google suggests this number to be 48 pixels. Okay. I mean, you can still use smaller UI elements for not so important actions to prioritize the user interface on purpose. So which means you can on purposely make certain targets smaller. And also this target, hello? Okay. And also, let's hold this, sorry. Okay, and also please leave enough space between the elements to avoid people from clicking on the wrong targets. let me adjust this. Sure. Okay. Sorry about that. Is that okay? Is this okay? All right. Okay. Okay. Then the third one is to design the controls that are easy to reach. Okay. So here I introduce a term called thumb comfort zone, which is the graph shown on the right. So the thumb comfort zone is basically the area on the app that plays very nicely with a person's thumb. Okay, so for this graph, it shows a heat map when people are using their mobile devices single-handed. And this picture shows two most common positions when holding the mobile device. So the green area is the most comfortable zone for your thumb. So if we take this into consideration in your mobile design, then we might want to consider to lay out your elements, for example, differently from a desktop view, based on their priorities and frequencies. Okay. And the last one is to try to utilize gestures. This is because usually for web-based apps, especially the web-based desktop apps, people tend to forget to enhance the mobile experience by including the gestures in their apps. So the common gestures include the pinch, drag, and swipe. So by including these gestures, we will make it easier for the users to interact with the UI components in your app, such as like to pinch, to zoom in and out on the map, or swipe to minimize or maximize a panel. By the way, the map already supports all the gestures on the mobile by default. If you are interested, you can take a look at at Dojo's gestures class or any other JavaScript gesture libraries to include those in your development. Okay. And here I'm only listing like 4 basic principles that you can start adding to your mobile design. Okay. All right. So after understanding all those basic principles, let's get into the details of implementing the mobile changes within Web AppBuilder. So first, let's take a look at how Web AppBuilder system handles mobile and what features have been already provided in the system. Okay. So the first to know is that Web AppBuilder uses screen size to determine whether an app is in the mobile or not. So at the framework level, Web AppBuilder sets a default viewport size of 600 pixels as the mobile threshold. So when either an app's width or height is less than 600 pixels, Web AppBuilder tells the app to enter the mobile view. So this number is stored in the global variable, which is called window.gmuconfig.breakpoints. And these numbers can be reset in JavaScript. By default, there are 2 numbers already available in that array. The first one is for the mobile breakpoint. You can change this number to a different one if you want. The second one was meant for a large desktop view, but I don't think it has been used anywhere, so you can just ignore the second number. Okay. Let's take a look at what happens after the app turns into the mobile view in details. So first, a class name called gmu-is mobile is added to the app's root element in the DOM tree. Okay, so this given class name gives you the ability to override any CSS rules in your app, including the UI components from the Dojo framework, ArcGIS API, or Web AppBuilder's own Gmu UI framework. And I'm going to do a demo on like how to override that. And in JavaScript, a global property called app.info is run in mobile is also being enabled. So this allows you to write custom JavaScript code in your widgets. So with these two properties being enabled, one for CSS and one for JavaScript, you pretty much have all the freedom to do any customization for your mobile app. Okay. All right, so let's take a quick look at what Web AppBuilder does already to optimize for a better mobile experience. Here, the first one is in pretty much all the Web AppBuilder themes, what they do is first they display the widgets at the bottom half of the screen, and it takes like half of the screen size, and the map takes the other half. The second one is the panel that contains the widgets can be minimized or maximized. And some of the on-screen widgets, they are repositioned for a better finger reachability. For example, like in the LaunchPad theme, which is shown on this slide, certain UI elements have been repositioned in the mobile view. And the last one is some of the themes they utilize that Gmu is a mobile class name to write custom CSS rules tailored for mobile. Okay. So next one, so I'm going to talk about how to make changes to two major components. First one is the layout. The second one is the style within a theme, like from a theme level, like how to apply extra mobile customization based on the principles we mentioned before. So first one, let's take a look at the layout. Okay. So what we are really going to just focus today is the mobile layout property in a layout configuration file. Mobile layout, it allows you to redefine the layout of the components. This is done by giving a different numbers or values to the same position properties of the same widgets from the default view. So if you are familiar with how the layout configuration files works in Web AppBuilder, so those files, they have the default settings for the widgets for a desktop view. And what the mobile layout does is to have extra configuration that will override the default ones. Okay. Then mobile layout, it only works for on-screen widgets. So those widgets, they are like placed directly on top of the map. Those are the on-screen widgets. And it's not going to work for the widgets defined in the widget pool. So the widgets in the widget pool are the widgets that usually being displayed in the header controller, for example. Okay, and you only have to define the positions for the widgets or map that will appear differently in the mobile view. For the other ones, they will automatically take the default settings. Okay, so here's a more detailed comparison table of what you can or cannot do in the mobile layout section. So what you can do is, first, you can change the sizes of the widgets. then you can change the positions of the widgets in the mobile view. Or you can change the parent that a widget's position is relative to. So whether it is positioned relative to the map or the browser. The last one is that you can change the stacking order. What you cannot do are that you cannot remove a widget, and you cannot remove you cannot add a widget to the default layout, nor you cannot hide a widget. So what this means is that the mobile view has to have exactly the same UI elements as the desktop view. Okay. All right. So here's a closer look at the position mechanism behind the layout system. So if you are familiar with the CSS absolute position system, you should be familiar with this system. The on-screen widgets and the map, they are all absolute positioned, which means you can define the same position properties such as top, bottom, left, right, and then z-index in the layout config, just for your reference here. All right, so let's take, if you can see that clearly, I'll try to explain the screenshots. So here we take the LaunchPad theme for an example, okay, to see how the mobile layout works. So at the top, we have the header and the search. Those are all repositioned in the mobile view. The search is stretched to take the full width, and then next to it is the header's link button. And the other on-screen widgets, such as the zoom slider, the home button, the locate button, they are all being relocated to the bottom right corner. And then we have the widget placeholders, which are those ones with number 1, 2, 3. They have been repositioned to the bottom left. And then the last change is the controller at the bottom. In the mobile, it is stretched to take the full width of the app. Okay. So now I'm going to quickly do a demo. To do a demo on how to create a new mobile layout based on the foldable theme to change some of the position settings for mobile. Okay, here's a quick demo preparation slide. So I'm going to do a couple of things first. So I'm going to create a sample app config under this client slash stem app slash sample configs folder just for this demo. And within that app config, it will contain a simple point feature layer, so a web map with a simple feature layer, a couple on-screen widgets and widgets in the widget pool, and also an empty mobile layout structure in that. Okay. All right. So let's quit this. Okay. And I go to. Okay. I'll show you the file first. See if you can probably not see it very clearly. So what I'm showing on the screen, if you cannot see it, so basically under in the stem app folder, then sample configs folder, I already add a new app config file called ds-demo. Okay, so let's see how that looks right now. Okay, so here's the predefined app config file I have already created before this section. So it is using the foldable theme as the default theme. It has a couple basic app configurations, such as the title, subtitle, And then we, starting from line 11, all these code are the layout, are the layout code. So here we have a couple on-screen widgets added. We have a map, and then we have 4 widgets added to the widget pool, and also an empty mobile layout structure. So to the right is how the app looks right now on mobile. It's a very standard foldable theme. Okay. So what I'm really going to do is I'm not going to touch any of the default configuration in the layout. What I'm going to do is I'm really going to add new configuration within the mobile layout part. So just to make it quicker, I'm going to copy the code from my cheat sheet to make the changes. Okay. So first one is I'm going to move the header to the bottom and make the height a little bit bigger. So I'm going to copy that. Okay. Widgets. All right, and I'm going to push the map a little bit to the top. Okay. So what this does is it moves the header to the bottom and give it a height of 72 pixels. So that will be big enough for a person's thumb size. Okay. And the next one is we are going to move the zoom slider, the home button on also this widget with the pencil icon to the bottom. So first, I'm going to move the home button, the zoom slider, and also the demo widget. Okay. So let's refresh. Save. Oh, extra comma over here. Remove it. Okay. Then on mobile, we can see those buttons have been moved to the bottom of the screen. And the last one is to resize the search bar a little bit to make it full width. And I'm going to copy the code also for the search widget and paste it over here. By the way, I'm going to have the source code ready online. Okay. Here, that is the code I let the search widget to have a left property of 15 and a right property of 15, which makes it kind of a stretch across the width of the app. So here is how it looks on the mobile device after the change. And if we go to the desktop view, we can see the desktop, the default layout stays the same. Okay, it stays the same, but on mobile it has a different layout on mobile. All right. Okay, so next let's go to the style part. Okay, so let's talk about how to create mobile-specific styles for which basically means the CSS part. All right. So in this part, all we are really going to do is to try to utilize the gmu-is mobile class name that in writing our CSS styles for mobile. And some recap. gmu dash is mobile is the extra class name that is added to the root element of the app running in the mobile mode. So to use it in the CSS, we can add this class name in front of any CSS rule to let it gain higher CSS to make it more specific. So it can override any existing styles from the default desktop view. So since we need to add the class name in front of every style that we want to override, I personally recommend you to use one of the CSS preprocessors, processors such as SAS or less when writing those styles. So you only need to add the class name once and wrap everything within that wrapper. Okay. All right. Here's a quick example of how to use this class name to overwrite the default gmu slider UI component from that is used by the near me widget. Okay, so it's very simple. Just add the extra gmu dash is mobile class before the slider's handle class name, and put all your override CSS styles within it. So basically what I've done here is to make the handle big enough, give it a different background color, and then make it as a circle. And that's it. And since we know like how to add CSS styles for mobile now, which is just simply add that one extra class name. So now let's see like where you should put those styles. So in general, there are 3 places to put them. The first 2 options are the CSS files within a theme. The first one is the common.css file. This file is effective across the entire theme, no matter which style is selected. So if you want your change to be applied to the whole theme, or if you have any like base styles or reset styles, you can put them here in this file. The second one is the style.css in a theme's style folder. The styles in this file is effective only it's only effective when that style is being selected. So put your changes here if you want your changes to not affect any other existing styles within a theme. Okay, and then on the other hand, the last one is if you want to add your changes only to a widget, then you should add the styles within the style.css file within a widgets folder. So all these 3 files, the order they are listed over here are in a order of from very general to very specific. Okay, so the common CSS is a very general CSS file, and the style.css in a widget is very specific. Okay, all right, so let's do another quick demo on how to add some custom CSS rules to restyle the UI elements in the demo app we just created. Okay, so here is the end result of how the app is going to look. All right. Again, some demo preparation. So I have already created a demo style folder within the foldable theme /styles directory, and I'm going to update the demo apps config file to use this style in the app. Okay. And after that, I'm just going to add some simple overriding CSS rules. All right. Let's take the folder structure again, so you can see. Never mind. I will directly jump to the style.css. Okay. Before that, in the app config, we just created and modified. Here we need to add this extra configuration to tell the app to use the demo style that we are going to modify. Okay. After that, within this style.css, here are some general override CSS rules that's going to make. You can see that's going to make the header background color to blue, and also make the panel header or the pop-up header to blue. So those are not mobile specific CSS rules. Okay. Our demo will start from here. So from here, I'm going to add some mobile-specific styles. The first one is I'm going to add a CSS variable I'm going to use to color my primary button. So here I make it add a red color over here. And then, probably you guys are not going to see. Okay. Next one, I'm going to make the on-screen widget that has a pencil on it to make it big enough and then make it red. All right. And command, maybe hopefully you can see this, and then make it large a little bit. Okay. So what I'm doing here is like just simply add the gym-dash is mobile class in front of the class name for the on-screen widget icon, right? And everything else is just add all your custom styles. So here I make it big enough, give it a different background color, and then make it round. So after adding this, the app should look something like that. You can notice the button has a kind of like a material design kind of look and feel. And the next step is to also make the home button and the zoom slider big enough. To me, those buttons are still too small, in my opinion, on a mobile device. So follow the same pattern, we can also be able to override widget styles over here. Okay, so here the buttons are made larger. Okay. Then the third step is like I don't like how the header looks on the mobile, because on the mobile probably the title of the app no longer matters. I really want to show the widget first in the header. So here I'm going to hide the titles and evenly distribute the widget icons. So here again, I'm using the gym is mobile class to override the controller widget within a theme. So after adding the styles, okay, the first rule makes the title disappear. The second rule makes the icons to display evenly in the header, and the last rule is to remove any extra, like such as the border that I don't need in a mobile view. And then the very last step is to override the styles for the search. So here what I show is the ability to override also the underlining UI framework. For example, the ArcGIS search is ArcGIS API widget. So you also have the ability to overwrite that. So over here, basically, what I have done is to make the input box bigger and also add a box shadow to it. And that's pretty much it. So after all the changes, the app should look like that, right? So to me, the very initial step for making a more custom mobile experience is done. What you can do is you can keep adding more and more styles in this file to, for example, to make the panel, for example, the header of the panel bigger, or make certain basic UI elements such as the form elements more suitable for a mobile device. All right, so and that's it for the theme part. Next, I'm going to let Gavin to talk about mobile development for widgets.
All right. Can you all hear me in the back? Okay. So yeah, so like Yue said, thinking about mobile while creating new themes is super, super important, but also it's important to think about mobile design when you're creating custom widgets. How many of you have created custom widgets or are thinking about it? Yeah, super popular, right? It's a great way to customize Web AppBuilder, but we need to make sure that they are responsive too, because Web AppBuilder will take care of rearranging the overall structure of your app like Yue showed, but you as the widget author are responsible for making sure the content within the widget is mobile responsive as well. So that's something we want to talk about next. There are a few things that we need to consider when making sure our widgets are mobile friendly. The first one is our HTML markup. Coding our HTML in ways that will allow our widget to be mobile responsive instead of static and fixed is very key. The specifics of this vary depending on the layout of your widget you're writing, but you'll gain a better intuition for it the more you do it. A few overall steps include one, generally not using tables for layout, because typically they will be too wide or hang off the side of your widget when using them or when Web AppBuilder restructures it. Using tables for actual tabular data is fine, but using them for layout of your widget will usually get you into trouble. If you want to use a multi-column layout, you can use divs with the float styles, or if you're not worried about supporting IE11, you can use flexbox or grid styles to control your layout. And I'll show this technique in a few minutes. Another tip is to think about the width elements, the width attributes on elements, particularly form elements. If you're manually setting a width element, that's almost always a bad sign, because that width might be good for your widget in one particular layout, but when switched to a different mobile layout or even a smaller window or used in a different theme, that layout may be wrong. So it's best not to set manual widths and either relying on REM values or percentages to make sure your widget will fit into any space that it's placed within. Another tip is to think about image sizes and how they will be affected if the widget size is reduced. Oftentimes, your widget may be very mobile responsive, but an image that's not marked as being a flexible width or a flexible height will totally mess up your mobile layout when it's viewed on a phone or a tablet. So that's usually hard to discover until you actually test it with the mobile developer tools or actually on a mobile device. So just jumping into a quick demo here, I've got a custom widget that I've developed myself. It's a pretty simple widget. It's got a search box in here where I can search for a location, and it geocodes that location, highlights that location on the map, and then uses the Yelp API to search for restaurants that are near that location. Pretty standard widget. We've got the developer tools going at the bottom, and if you haven't used these, you can open them up using your browser's menu up here. All the major browsers have them, and all the major browsers support device toolbar. Yue was showing it earlier, but just to explicitly talk about it, this is a specific way that you can kind of view your Web App Builder app to make it look like it's being emulated in a mobile device. And so this is a really good way to test either your themes or your widgets, how they're going to look on mobile. So you can see at the bottom that this is the layout gets pushed down to here when I'm in mobile. So one of the problem areas that we can see with this widget right now is that the vertical layout, this Yelp logo, is at different spaces, at different places, depending on the width and height of the image and the name of the restaurant here. So if I actually inspect that, we can look at, and as I hover over these this HTML, I can see what HTML aligns with what part of the app. And I can see here that on this span that is wrapping the information on the right-hand side, I've actually got some inline styles, and I've got a specific width set, 170 pixels. So that's probably part of my problem. That's what I just said in my presentation that we shouldn't be doing. And in fact, in this case, it's causing us a problem. We don't want to use that specific width. We want the width to be as flexible depending on what device we're currently viewing. So let's fix that. So I'm going to pop over to our code and go into that HTML file where we've got those inline styles, and I'll just go ahead and remove them. I'll refresh the page. So now when I search, we're making progress. So now the Yelp logo is on the right-hand side for all these cases, but you may have noticed that the star ratings are not there. And in fact, if I go in and inspect that element, as I go through here, I can see that those stars, it's kind of hard to see up there, but the stars are actually all the way to the left, behind the image actually, because we don't have things kind of set up right for this layout. So let's get into actually laying out these columns. To do so, I'm going to create some class names on these so I can use them in my CSS easier. So I'm going to call this the image. I'm just going to say class equals image node. Just some random names, and on this span, I'll just say class equals data node. Now, in my styles, I can now use those classes that I just added to control the style. So I'm going to say dot result display dot image node. And I'm going to make this image a width of 25%. So it's always going to be a quarter of the width. And I'm going to use float, CSS floats. So I'm going to float it left. So similarly to there, for the data node, I'm going to make the width 75%. So it's going to take up the rest of the space. And I'm also going to float that left. So now when I save this, I do a search. Now we're making some progress, but it's not looking exactly right. So what is the issue here? Let's take a look. And we'll see that on some of these, data node, image node, that should actually be working properly. Let's go to desktop and refresh it and take a look. Node, image node, data node. Oh, yeah. So I need to remove some padding that we have. Sorry, I forgot about that. That's going to be our issue. So now we're back on track. So now this looks okay in the desktop. We've got our columns, and the Yelp icon is appropriate. And then when we pop into the mobile view here, it's also looking pretty good here. But one thing you may be noticing in this view is that the image is touching our text. So we can deal with that as well. We might just simply make the width 23% here, and maybe do a margin on this with 2% of the area. And when I refresh the page here, we should be looking good. Okay, so now this is looking a lot better, right? Our Yelp icon is always on the right. We've got proper spacing, and it looks good on both desktop and mobile. Now that's using floats, which is actually a kind of older technology. This is the way you would do it if you're supporting IE11 still, which Web AppBuilder does support. If you don't need to support IE11, you can do something a little more modern, and you don't have to do all this floating. One of the reasons why the float left isn't great, and Yue will probably attest to this, is that you also always need to use this, you need to clear your items. So if you don't use this clear, and let's take this out, what's going to happen is that when I do a search, all of my stuff will not work properly. So see how it looks really bad because everything, the rows aren't clearing past each other. They're just all floating as close as possible together. So that's one of the reasons why people don't like to use floats. And so let's try to use a more modern CSS technique, which is Flexbox. And that it's something that you can use, again, if you're not supporting IE11. So let's go to our CSS, and I'll remove the stuff we just did. So instead of using all of that, we're going to add a rule to our result display, which is the class for each row. And I'm going to set this to display flex. Display flex. And I'm going to say align items center. And then I'm going to add a rule to control our image. So result display. We're still going to set our image to a width of 25%. That goes back to kind of what I was talking about earlier with making sure that images that you have oversized, you're controlling the size. So now with those just two simple changes, if now I search in our widget, it's looking pretty good. I removed a lot of code, so I simplified things a lot, and we don't have to worry about that clear stuff. But you can see the logos on the Yelp icons, they're not taking up the entire width of my row. And that's because if we inspect this element, it's actually just setting the width to whatever the width of the title is. So we need to use Flexbox, tell Flexbox to take up the entire width of the row, and we can do that pretty simply by doing result display and control the data node. And we're going to use flex grow is equal to 1. Now flex grow defines the ability for a flex item to grow as necessary, and it's actually a unit list value that serves as a proportion. So it dictates, the amount of space inside the flex container that the item should take up. So that's how flex grow works. And with that one line added, let me load this again. We search Palm Springs. Now things are looking really well. We've got our icon on the right, all of our data on, our icon on the left, data on the right, and in mobile too, this should look correct. We're using the same rules for mobile and desktop, and it's looking correct in both cases. So that's how to use Flexbox for our layout in our widget. As you saw, we can use CSS rules to make sure our widget looks great in both desktop browsers and mobile devices. It just takes a little bit of extra thought and consideration while doing the coding. And you can also use media queries, which is a whole separate topic that we can't really get into now, but that would only apply CSS rules for certain screen sizes and using some of the rules that Yue was just talking about. But that should kind of be your exception and not the rule. You should try to be able to write your CSS so it works properly in all different screen sizes like I just showed. So now that we've shown you how to make themes and widgets with mobile in mind, we wanted to give you a quick preview of the upcoming software Experience Builder, and I think Yue is going to show us that.
Let me try this first. All right. So the team right now, we are working on the next generation of the Web AppBuilder, which is called Experience Builder just for now. Okay, I'm just quickly to walk through some of the changes that are related to today's topic. So the first one is the theme is not going to it's not going to contain all the 4 components: the layout, style, controller, or panels. Those 4 concepts will be separated into 4 different domains. In the future, theme will only refer to the styling part, which is the CSS part, and the layout as its own concept. It will be no longer part of a theme, and it will be much more powerful. Okay, so besides the current fixed layout, in Web AppBuilder, we are going to add the flexbox layout. So with that layout, you'll be able to create like a web page like apps. And we are also going to support multiple pages app. So it's not going to be, you can still make single page app, but you can also be able to make a multiple page app or a set. And it does not have to be map centric. So in your app, you don't have to have a map, or you can have multiple maps. It really depends. So map will be made as a widget. And on top of this, there will be more configurable properties, such as background color, background image, borders, shadows, margin, paddings, etc., that you can add to the layout. So for mobile handling, the flexbox layout will offer a default responsive handling. So when you reset the app, it will automatically use the common responsive method to handle it for you. The second one is we are still going to support the breakpoints as a current Web AppBuilder, and we are still going to have the mobile layout available in the mobile layout property inside of the layout configuration. So you can still implement the same thing as the current Web AppBuilder. So on the details of this Experience Builder, if you have any questions or you want to see a live demo, you can go to the Web AppBuilder's booth in the island, or you can stay here. The section right after this one will be the director and the project manager who's going to talk probably some of those in details. Okay. All right. I think that's it for this workshop. Thank you very much. And before you leave, and before the Q&A section, here's the steps to participate the survey for this section. So feel free to open the Esri events app and search for this workshop and give us some feedback.
Please definitely do that so we know, have some feedback for next year for sure.
Yeah.
But
thank you for that. Excellent. And time for questions, if any.
Question is, will the new Experience Builder stuff be backwards compatible?
For that builder, it's not going to work. But I forgot to mention is Web AppBuilder is not just going to fade away. So we are going to support both in parallel. So those will be kind of considered as two separate products, similar to the API 3x and 4x. So you can choose to either stay with Web AppBuilder, or you can start learning or start playing with the new Experience Builder. Yeah.
Question?
Yeah, hi. Will your slides and your source code be available online?
Yeah, so that is this one. Okay. Yeah, if you want to take a picture on those. I think the slides will also be available after.
Yeah, they'll be available in the proceedings for sure.
Yeah.
And also, were you guys using VS Code? Was that your editor there?
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Question was, are we using VS Code? Yeah, I think we both were.
Yeah, we both.
Question?
Question on the mobile layout section of the configuration file.
Uh-huh.
Is it true in my mind that it's changed quite a bit since sort of earlier versions of that builder being that it'll override, is it always been that it'll override existing widgets? Or previously you had to have an element for every widget that was in the non-mobile section?
Yeah, so that's basically how it works. So anything defined within mobile layout section, all those properties and values will override the ones before.
Overrides by the ID of the widget, or how does it develop?
Oh, so how it identify is, I think I forgot to mention that, is it use the URI pointing to the widget as the key in the mobile layout. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, I think we're good. Well, Yue and I'll hang out for a few minutes here if you have any others, but thanks a lot for coming.
All right, thank you.